Good morning and welcome to the Bhoycie Bus Sunday Blether. I'm your host David Logue, and as you can see beside me I have the one and only Phil McGinley, Mr. Friday Night himself. How you doing, bro?
Doing not too bad, mate. It's a chilly one out there today. I'm going to the game later on. Going to have to wrap up pretty warm. I think it's one of those, look outside and it's the whole place is covered in frost. So much so I thought, is it snowed overnight? There was that much white stuff all over the buildings, the cars, everything's iced up. I was like, is that snow? Is that frost? But yeah, it's just one of those really, really freezing November days. So that should be fun. Hopefully Celtic, though, can keep me warm by putting on a good display today, mate.
Yes, they can get that nice wee comfort blanket that Bhoycie was talking about back on and hopefully get the result against Aberdeen. Now, we will be joined by one of our other Sunday Blethering broskies, that is Regan. He is on the way. The judge isn't able to make it today. I think work commitments again. We can't afford the judge every Sunday anymore. He's the cost of living's gone up, and unfortunately his contract's just shot through the roof. So we have to make do with us and Regan. But it's all good. It's all good. We've got the best podcaster on the planet, that is Phil McGinley, with us today. So,
all right, thanks.
It makes it up. Listen, I'm just speaking truths, mate. It's constantly getting mentioned. Now, before we get started,
yes,
as a famous Dave Grohl once said, I've got a confession to make. That's about as much singing you're getting out of me. I've got a confession to make, folks. Right, I've been pulled up about it. And it was completely fair to be pulled up about it. I will take that on the chin. If you watched the TNF on Thursday, I jumped in last minute to do the show after 12-hour shift, right? And I was like, I need to get some content for the show just to get us kicked off. I'll quickly just scour the internet and see if there's any talking points. And I came across a certain Diego Simeone quote, or so I thought, right? So I read out the quote, and it turned out I was done like a kipper, Phil, and it turned out to be a troll account. To be fair to the troll,
yeah,
he did a pretty convincing Diego Simeone impression. Yes, I should have done my due diligence and read and made sure it was legitimate, but I got in at 8:30 after a 12-hour shift, jumped online to do the show, and I just... But listen, that's just excuses. I fucked up, and I just want to apologise for putting out any false information out there. But listen, Sky Sports News has been cut out a few times, so you can let me off. I make hair shorter for a living. I make hair shorter for a living. I'm no media trained, right? But hey ho. I fucked up. I do apologise, and we shall move on.
The thing is, the fake quote, as I think I felt at the time, was, even though I did think when you read it, I went, is that legit? It was quite an accurate assessment of the game, to be fair, because we were tragic. We were just tragically bad, and I wouldn't be surprised if it really did feel like one of the worst teams Diego Simeone ever came up against, to be honest, because we were absolutely abysmal on Tuesday night. But thankfully, we've got a chance today to cleanse ourselves of that performance and get out the system as soon as possible. So hopefully we do that today.
Yeah, so there you go. Got it out of the way. Just thought I'd let everybody know I fucked up. But it's fine. Anyway, right. So before we get properly started, guys, all that good stuff, make sure you like, share, subscribe, slag my facial hair, all that stuff. Become a Bhoycie Bus member for a small cost of $1.99. It doesn't give you any extra content. All our content is free. It just helps the bus keep rolling on and on and on and on, and you'll never miss a bus that way. When you've got that wee bell notification, it'll pop up on your phone screen there that the bus is on its way. Of course, big shout out to our sponsors at piesports.com. Get on there, get all your tasty pasty treats. Make sure you put in bus 1888 to get a tasty 12.5% off your order, and make sure you follow the Bhoycie Bus on Twitter for all the updates on shows, etc, etc. Right, well, I thought Regan would be on by now, but he's obviously being a bit of a diva today, and he's going to turn up just when it feels like it, like Stone Cold Steve Austin. We'll hear the glass break, and he'll come jumping on the screen soon enough. Right, let's get looking at today's fixture. Phil, you said that you're going today. Are you looking forward to it? Is there any apprehensions after, like you said, a dismal display out in Madrid? Or is it a case of back to business as usual? What's your thoughts going into it?
I think it's the perfect game for us to have. I think I mentioned it on Friday where it was like if we were playing a Livingston away or going up to Dundee or something, Kilmarnock, one of these, like, just stodgy away ground, with a team that's going to probably 10 men behind the ball, I'd be a bit like, I don't know if that's what Celtic need right now after that performance. I mean, don't get wrong, they could come up against a team like that and just go for the jugular right away, get an early goal and everything. But the way things have went this season, times the play can be a bit slow and plodding. But of course, today we're playing a team that I think are quite open, quite attacking, and it's at Celtic Park, which is a bonus as well. It's a nice, big, expansive park, so it's nice and open. So you'd like to think that Aberdeen will get stretched and we'll be able to pick holes in them. They will have expended a lot of energy because I believe they got a pretty credible draw on Thursday night in the Europa Conference League, didn't they? Away to PAOK Salonika in Greece. So a decent result for them. But as we know, when it comes to, usually it seems to be a thing across all of the UK, Scotland and English teams, they don't like Thursday, Sunday schedules. So hopefully that also catches up with Aberdeen as well. Having to play on a Thursday, then play on a Sunday. I say they've had an away game on Thursday night and they'll be pretty drained after all the efforts they put in. And hopefully we can just go out there today, get back on track. I say I'd be more worried, not worried, but a bit more apprehensive if we were playing a team that are notorious for just coming to Glasgow and sitting with 10 men behind the ball, like a Ross County or something like that. Or it was some sort of like away game at a wee tricky ground. But no, Celtic Park, Aberdeen, I think it's the perfect fixture for us after that performance through the week. Get out the system.
Yeah, there's a few danger men to look out for. Obviously, today, of course, the one that we've actually praised a fair bit recently on this podcast is Miovski. He's obviously their danger man. Excuse me. He always, I think he's scored a couple of goals against us now, Phil. So he's definitely going to have to be somebody that we have to keep an eye out on. Another one happens to be a former teammate of a player in our ranks, and that is Duke. He was actually speaking in the papers yesterday, I think it was, or another day. He was saying that that he's warned his teammates of the dangers that Duke possesses. Believe it or not, we already know he was here last season.
Yeah, that's true. I think that Bernardo. That's really
but just a heads up, mate. But this is what they had to say. The Portuguese pair, they played together for Benfica. They came through the youth system and they featured for their B side, playing alongside each other for a couple of years. But obviously Duke arrived in Scotland, and he says here 400,000 to secure his acquisition, and he scored 18 goals in 44 appearances last year, and he got 6 assists. He's not heights of that this year. I think he's scored 3 goals under Barry Robson so far, but he did play well against PAOK in Greece. Bernardo had to say that he had spoken to him since joining Celtic, and when I arrived here, he sent me a comment on Instagram. He's a nice guy. What a nice guy.
Oh, lovely.
I saw that he scored on Thursday night, but I didn't see the goal. He's amazing, he's strong, he's good with the ball, and he can finish early really well. We have to be alert. He didn't really get a chance at Portugal, so he came here and he's changed. Last season he did very well. This season he will do well too. So high praise from Bernardo for his former teammate that is at Aberdeen. So we'll keep an eye out on Duke. Hopefully that form doesn't hit the heights of last time against us.
No.
Phil, but he will be. There was a few fans saying we should have signed him in the summer.
There's James Grimes in the chat saying he would have Miovski and Duke. He'd have both. He's not settling for just one. He wants both of them, mate.
Yes. Why not?
No, but I do. You're right. There was a lot of fans that were calling out for it because my feeling was, and again, all I do is really just watch Celtic. I don't really pay much attention to the other teams outside. There's been moments where along the last few years where I've been genuinely shocked when I look at the league table. We're coming up to play somebody like a few years ago when we were playing Ross County and they were finished in the top 6. I was like, when did Ross County get to the top 6? So I always kind of don't pay that much attention. But I know Duke last season did have a pretty good season up to a point. Because as you look at his numbers, he seemed to just kind of like fall off a cliff somewhere in the sort of final third of the season. And then I looked at his numbers this season because, again, people were shouting out for him in the summer about signing him and whatnot. I thought he's not been as effective this season. But at the end of the day, Celtic will treat him with the respect he deserves and make sure that he does have a quiet game because he has shown in the past that he has got that ability, maybe going through a bit of a quiet period by his standards, but he's obviously got it in him. So yeah, we'll need to be wary of him, and obviously Majowski up front. And so he's somebody that we've championed on here, that we would have him. We would have him in Celtic if we had an option. You know, when you look at our bench and our attacking options, Majowski has shown that he can score goals in this league. So I would feel if Celtic were to make a move for somebody, you know, within this league, I think he would be quite a good one to look at.
Would he be a realistic January signing? Because I want to say yes. I think he would realistically be a good signing. I think he'd be an unlikely signing in January. I can't see Aberdeen letting him go to us, especially in January, unless we were to offer some sort of compensation in terms of maybe a player going that way, either on
I
loan
think so.
or permanently as well, because they're not going to give us their star striker unless obviously we pay up significantly for him.
Yeah.
Or like I said, like they give them, I don't know, they're not going to get Scales off us anytime soon now. O or somebody like that maybe say like give us O on loan as well. I don't know, because there is going to be concerns in January, Phil. It was alluded to yesterday in the press conference with Brendan Rodgers that of course the Asian Cup is coming up in Qatar, and there will be three. Well, you can imagine all three of them would go. And also O, I don't know if O would get a call up to the are South Korea playing in the Asian Cup?
Seems to be in
Did they
about
qualify?
the South Korea team. Jurgen Klinsmann, you know, comes over and watches them from time to time, and I think he's in around the sort of team. So it'll be like a 23-man squad they'll have to pick. So you've got to imagine he'll be close to getting picked, or might just scrape into it. But yeah, there's a danger that he could go as well. And yeah, if we lose Kyogo and O, no strikers. So
well, no strikers. Yeah. So Rodgers highlighted the likelihood. Let me just nip over to my glorified sources here. Rodgers highlighted the likelihood of these players participation in the cup. Speaking to Football Scotland, credit them because I didn't do the journalism. You'll be happy to hear. The likelihood is, if they're fit, a lot of them will be in Qatar. That's part of our planning. All right, okay. He clarified that it doesn't alter their January plans, as it wasn't a surprise and had been discussed since the summer.
Right.
In terms of addressing the squad gap, Rodgers is open to exploring the loan market, but also emphasises the potential within the club. Our first look will always be inside. Is there anyone in the academy that we feel that we can step in? You never know. We might have a 15 million or 20 million pound player there. Come on, man.
Can't even be.
This is legit, by the way. This is legit. I'd check. This is definitely legit. What do you think of that?
I think he's towing the party line there. I think that's what he's doing. He's being very diplomatic and just trying to, humour the some people that will do it. I don't think the youth team will be looked at and say this is a team that are struggling in the 5th, 6th tier, whatever it is, of Scottish football, losing to teams like civil service strollers and all that. So it's like, I don't think there's much. Rocco Vata seems to be the one that gets the most sort of attention, but I don't think he's even a striker. He's like a winger, isn't he? So
I think so, yeah.
Other than that, I can't tell you much else about the B team. So yeah, I don't think it'll be that. He did obviously mention loans. I'll be going back to that one again. That was one of the reasons why he left in 2019. These players coming in on loans. I mean, that last window that he got, Ollie Buck, Timo Weir, Jeremy Toljan, all loan deals. Then the one guy we did sign, he didn't actually know anything about him, which was Marian Shved. So hopefully we're all good. I've got this feeling though, and I've seen it mentioned in the chat and a few shows in recent times about they reckon the Danish striker Visgarden is still on our radar. Now, in August, when the window closed, I remember there was somebody in our live chat that was very, very adamant that a deal will be done. It was one of these ones where they know somebody that's told them this and that, and I've seen the name come up a few times. I wonder if that was the case, because am I right in saying is the Danish season one of those ones that runs from like March to November rather than playing across the winter?
Just took the words out of my mouth. That's what I was sitting there thinking. Going, I'm pretty sure their season, because am I right in saying when we played Bodo Glimt in the Conference League, the big narrative was, well, they've not played a competitive match in X amount of weeks because the season had ended. So I wonder if you're right there, and they've maybe said, look, we want him to the end of the season, and you can have him in January.
Yeah. But then you look at Visgarden and it's like, what was he? Like 21 years old, and his goal record at that time wasn't great. But then we were going to be paying about 6 million, was the rumour at the time. And you're like, well, that wouldn't be deemed a project player, would it? But then you look at his record and his age, and you're like, is he? I don't know anymore. I don't know how to find it. And I've said on a couple of shows recently when it comes to January window, I'm trying not to get too excited and too far ahead because I just don't know what this club are going to do at times when it comes to transfers now. I was so jaded by what happened in the summer where I believed that we were going to have a really strong window. We were going to make a lot of big signings just on the basis, well, Brendan Rodgers is back. He's got to be back for a reason. He's got to have had a lot of assurances, and it didn't look like that to me.
Another name that's been mentioned, and he's been linked a couple of times. I don't know if it's realistic either. Not in terms of not realistic to get him, whether it's realistic that we would actually approach them. It would be Shankland. He's getting mentioned in the chat as well. Somebody said they would still pick Miovski over Shankland, but would be happy with Shankland. I just feel he's got Rangers written all over him. I don't know. I think that's probably where he's going to end up heading. He seems to get linked with them all the time. I think it'll be inevitable that he eventually will go there. What would you take, Shankland? He's a bit of a penalty merchant, which we could fucking do with.
Yes.
Well, he can. I mean, he's scored goals wherever he goes. I think the only one he struggled in was Belgium, but I think there was somebody in the chat, or there was somebody had mentioned either it was on here, might have been Regan. I said that there was just a bit of dodginess about that whole deal in the first place. It was like I just go out there for 6 months and then we'll sign you, sort of thing. It was what was getting touted. I don't know. Pennywise, Alex for saying. Yeah, I get. I get the reference there. But Shankland, yeah, like I mean, he would be he'd be a fine substitute while Kyogo was away. On international duty. The most frustrating part about the Asian Cup is it's like how much are they going to feature? And it's not that they're not good enough to feature. We know they're good enough to feature, but they just don't seem to get the amount of minutes that you're almost. It feels worth them going out there. I mean, of course they're going to go. They want to go. They want to play for their country. They've made it perfectly clear that they want to do that, but it's just a bit frustrating when it's a flip a coin here. You're like, well, it's frustrating that we're going to lose players that might not feature. But then you can go, well, at least they're not going to get injured.
Well, that's true.
So it's a bit of a conundrum. Leicester are flying just now, Phil. Turns out that Maresca has hit the ground running there quite significantly. And they only lost their first game to Leeds to last weekend or the weekend before. Is it possible that Rodgers will go back there to take a player on loan? The name that's going to get thrown around probably is Jamie Vardy. I don't know if he even gets any games for them anymore.
I don't see his name
popping up.
A
short term signing for you. I don't really know. I mean, he's still. I'm sure he would bang goals in our league. But it's that whole short term fix, and there's no longevity there. I don't know, because I don't know if you noticed or seen it yesterday that Jim White had Kolo Touré on his show.
Oh yeah,
and they were talking about his love for the club and he enjoyed being in Glasgow and working at Celtic, and I kind of I'm surprised that he's never come back in the backroom staff again, and two, is there room in our squad to sign players of his sort of ilk, Premier League legendary, status, very much coming to the end of his career, but can do the job to help us out for the rest of the year. Does Jamie Vardy fall into that bracket for you? Would that make it worth it if you spun it that narrative?
Again, it's that short term thing, isn't it? We as fans are obviously looking for long term, but it's a tough one because this January, obviously we've got the winter break will still happen, so I think that benefits us in the sense that we're not going to miss that many games. But I believe the only fixtures, realistically, they'd only missed 2 fixtures, one of which is an away game to St Mirren. Because we actually play Rangers on December the 30th or the 31st. And then the first game of the new year, it's not Rangers, obviously, it's actually St Mirren in Paisley. And most people might be like, it's only St Mirren, we can afford to, we will get away with it. But we've had some sticky results at St Mirren in recent years with some of these guys playing. So it's like, I think we can't really take any chances, but I think the January window will have just opened because it'll be like January 1st. So I think it'll be open. So it would literally have to be somebody who comes in and can start right away because, they'll miss that. And then I think after the winter break, which is like 3 weeks, I think they would miss the last game in January as well, which might be a Scottish Cup game. I could be wrong in that one. But again, I don't think we should be taking any chances. Just go, it's only St Mirren because I say we've had some poor results against them in recent years and they are sitting pretty in the table. So I don't think Brendan will take lightly. What he's been saying does suggest that something's planned. But again, I don't know if I get too far ahead and get too excited about it. I really hope there is. In terms of Vardy, again, at the start of the season, just from things that I'd read online, there was talk that this was going to be Vardy's last season before he hangs up the boots. And the whole idea was he was going to be the guy that brings Leicester back to the Premier League. What a way to go out. But the fact he's not playing much and scoring much, because I don't see his name popping up on, Soccer Saturday and stuff like that. So it feels to me like his idea of being the guy that will lead Leicester back and get that fairy tale ending to his career looks like it's not really happening. But if this is going to be his final season, he is retiring. I don't know if it's a good idea to go for something. I mean, for somebody like that Ian Atcho or something, but I don't know if he's even getting games for Leicester anymore. I just see the results coming up, but I'm not privy to exactly who's playing for them. But I'd like to think that Brendan's got something.
They've got some decent strikers.
Yeah.
That you could maybe say, look, do us a favour. That you said you've any Atcho, Vardy, Daka. I don't know if he's getting game time for
Daka,
them.
yeah.
There's loads. They've got some. They've got some decent. Some players, but Bren Warrior, you're right. If Vardy's the answer, then what's the question? I mean, you're fucking bang on, mate. It's just when you read the words that have come out of Brendan's mouth of looking, he's quite happy to look at the loan market. I just think, who's that then? It's the first name that pops into my head. Unfortunately, it's not.
To answer Brown Warriors' comment there, if Vardy's answer, what's the question? The question would be in 2013, which Fleetwood Town striker was close to a £1 million move to Celtic, and in the end, Celtic opted not to go for it. The answer is Jamie Vardy, and how history could have been very, very different if that deal had went through. Would Leicester have won the league in 2016 and stuff like that? All these things could have been very different because he was a massive part of that. What could he have done at Celtic? But we were very close to signing him under Neil Lennon in 2013, playing Fleetwood Town he was at, and it was like £1 million we were meant to be getting him for. And history could have been very different after that one, but no, it all went in a different way.
Martin Muir asks, is Brendan Rodgers on talking terms with Leicester? That's a good question, mate. I don't know how if it ended badly with them or not. I mean, I know he had a good relationship with the original owner. I think they all just kind of went downhill after obviously his passing.
Yeah.
When his son kind of took over the reins a bit. So I don't know what the relationship is like there.
The investment had definitely dipped before the COVID crisis happened, because obviously with King Power, their main thing is they duty free in airports. That's what they mostly do. So when airports were closed, obviously there's no coincidence that Leicester's investment suddenly dropped. But even before that, it seemed like the son who'd taken over, I don't think he was as keen on it as his father was with investing. So the signs were there from an early point, but then the COVID crisis happened, and that last season that Brendan had at Leicester, where they bought one player and let most of the sort of top guys go, like Fofana and Schmeichel and all that, all left. It was all going to end one way for them. But is he on talking terms with them? I don't know. I'd say it's maybe a bit naive of football fans. We just think that, he used to work there, so you'll still have contacts and all that. It might be bad terms, who knows? But I'd just like to think that there is some sort of experience. We talked about it on Thursday night. It's not a case of how much money Celtic spend. And obviously we have got a decent wage of cash. There's no doubt about it. It's just buying the right people and identifying the right people. It feels to me like our scouting system is just looking in the wrong places right now. and going down the wrong alleyways when it's like, look, we should be looking to just try and get somebody with a bit more experience rather than all this. Oh, he's 19 years old and we could sell him for 6 million in a couple of years if we buy him now for 1 million and all that. And it's like, no, I think we need to look at the now rather than the future, because this league title isn't wrapped up at all. I know on the bus we've had, I think Russell or Terry, one of them has already said it's over. It's not. I mean, it's not. There's a long way to go, but we need to keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to need. Every fan can see it that we still need some reinforcements. If we can see it, then surely you'd like to think that, I say this tentatively, those who are running the club can see it as well. But again, who knows?
Do you think the boys will feel? Do you think the boys will feel pressure today? Rangers obviously playing before us today, probably will close the gap again. Does that then put? Do you think the group of players that we have can handle the pressure of that? Because, like you said, there's a long way to go, and Rangers seem to obviously have found a bit of form under the new manager. Probably the new manager bounce. Obviously, they've no longer got a fucking car salesman in charge, so they've got got somebody that obviously knows a little bit about what he's doing. I didn't see the game, but apparently they came at the traps and played very well in the first half, and then they kind of teetered away in the second half and were hanging on for dear life.
Yeah.
But they'll take a bit of confidence off of that result in Europe, and I would say they should get a result today against Livingston. You can, whether it's to do with the pitch or whatever, but I still think they'll get a result there. Therefore, then it's down to the boys again to make sure that we get back, extend that gap. Do you feel that there's pressure on them today, and do you feel they can handle that pressure?
I think they can handle it, because a lot of the squad that are there just now were also there 2 years ago in Ange's first season, when it felt like, in fact, even it happened last season as well. It was actually last season, wasn't it, where they had lots of games before us, and then it was just a case that we just had to go out and just sort of push them back. We're in a similar position again today. I mean, this is actually rare, because this first half of this season has kind of been the opposite, where we've actually had a chance to play first, but this is one of the ones where they'll play before us. I don't think it'll faze them too much, and I say the fixture that we've been handed for this one is quite a good one from our sense, because home game against a team that I don't think will sit with 10 men behind the ball. If it was one of these ones where it was a Ross County or a Dundee and it was 0-0 going up to like the 70th minute, and then Brendan looks to the bench and makes some subs, and it's like, James Forrest or Mikey Johnston or whatever comes on, and there's more sort of tension in the stadium at that point. But no, I think this is. I think they'll deal with it okay today. I think they'll go out there and they'll just get it done.
Going back to what you said about the scouting, we know that Lawwell Jr. came in and he was the whole, he's got the whole City group database to just pluck players out of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that we are relying too much on data rather than on an eye test these days? Because there was always this argument that, and I'm sure Marc, and I'm sure Bhoycie as well have been quite strong on their thoughts on it, that fuck the data, fuck the stats. They can be skewed to fit whatever narrative you want them to fit.
Yep.
But does the player pass the eye test? Now, I read out the stats of Maeda last week or the week before, and how many goal contributions that he's had since he joined the club, and they were quite surprisingly very good.
Yep.
However, Maeda, for Marc especially, doesn't pass the eye test. Now, do you think Brendan is more of an eye test sort of player picker, for lack of a better term?
Yeah.
Or do you feel that he's more happy to rely on statistics and graphs and pie charts and whatever other mathematical ways of looking at player development? Because right now it certainly feels like it's purely on stats, purely on statistics, and the recent recruitment has been. Whereas I personally feel that Rodgers is more of an eye test kind of guy. I think he kind of goes down that route a little bit more than he would maybe go down the looking at the charts before picking a player.
Yes, there is a place in the game for the whole XG and all the stats and all that. Me as a fan, I'm not bothered. I'm very much an eye test guy, which is very appropriate given I wear glasses as well. So that's very spot on that I do utilise these. But yeah, I'm very much in the favourite because the one that always stands out to me is I remember when Rio Hitati made his debut just after that January window. He signed with Maeda and Ideguchi in his first game against Hibs on a Monday night. We played at Celtic Park because there was a mini COVID shutdown, wasn't there, just over that Christmas time where Nicola Sturgeon tried to close it, but then we kind of forced our hand and we got everyone back in the stadiums pretty quickly. And that night, I remember watching Hitati and the first, again, just the eye test, just this boy's an absolute player, what a baller he is. He was very aggressive in winning the ball. He was very adventurous and very risky at passing it around. And then a few days later on another podcast, somebody who's very much an XG merchant was on, gave a big speech about, he attempted 11 passes and only completed 6. And I'm like, what? Like, did you watch the game? Did you watch it with your eyes? I don't care what a spreadsheet says. I could watch that right there and could identify right away. Hitati is a good player. You could just see his approach, how he played the game. You're like, this guy is a perfect fit for us. He takes risks, yes, and it does sometimes backfire on him at times, especially in Europe. We have seen that. But, I was like, I'm not bothered about this whole, the statistics of it. I've watched him and I think he is a good player. And that's what, I'm always like when it comes to that. But I do appreciate when it comes to management level and coaching level, yes, there is a place for it there. But for the regular fan like you and I, it's not something that I buy into too much. Does Brendan do it? I don't know. I think there's evidence on both sides that he does it. He kind of can lead both. Because, with Liam Scales, I think with Liam Scales, you break down his stats, he might not be as good as, in terms of winning tackles and that. But when we're watching him, to me, it feels like he's doing a good job. But there'll probably be somebody out there who'll go, well, actually, he's only completed this number of tackles and stuff like that. There'll be one of those out there. But again, I'm looking at Liam Scales and going, well, he's playing well. Brendan Rodgers has obviously identified that because he kept him in the team this long. So to me, I would think that there's a bit of both with Brendan, I think. Because, again, being a manager, he'll have to consider the stats in the XG because he'll have coaches in the whole sports science department. I believe that was one of the few things he changed when he came back in some was he brought in somebody to head up our sports science or something. Was it somebody Driscoll? I think his name was O'Driscoll or something like that. It was somebody that he was with him at Leicester, came with him. Mm-hmm. And I think he did that when he was here previously. He brought people in to head up that. So there will be an element where he's using that. But and there will be also. So I think he's a bit of a hybrid essentially. But when it comes to, say, from a fan point of view, me personally, I'm just like, just let me watch the player and I'll be able to decide if he's good, as similar to like Mark does with Maeda, where he's decided that he's no good at all. But you say the stats show otherwise. Maeda, I'm kind of in the middle with, where I think like sometimes he can be unbelievable. Like he's got a bit of the salmon asses about him, I feel, where sometimes he can turn up and he's totally unplayable to the opposition. They can't deal with him at all. And then other times where his first touch is basically knocking out a play and stuff like that. And that's what Samaras used to do as well. But when he's on it, like Maeda, when Samaras was on it, they are a huge weapon for us, like in the attacking third.
Yeah, Maeda, the whole the wee back and forth that me and Mark, and it is joking, by the way. Like it's just a bit of banter between the two of us. But I am still more on the positive side of Maeda than Mark is. But it does sometimes when Mark puts his point across as to why he doesn't rate him. It's very difficult to disagree with the points that he makes, right? And that's why it's so frustrating when you watch Maeda and you go, look, like you can see what he brings, you can see the qualities that he does have, but it's the basics that always seems to let him down. And like you say, when he gets the basics right and he's on fire, like look, there's a reason Atletico wanted him sent off, right? Because he caused them a lot of problems at Celtic Park. So that tells you that there is a quality player there. He doesn't get picked for Japan for no reason. Like they've got a very good international side, so there's qualities to him there. Speaking of Maeda, obviously he has been ruled out for up to 6 weeks due to his horrendous, disgusting attempt to hurt a player and put himself not only put his an opponent in danger, but at his own peril, as David Tanner said. Injured himself fuck off, David Tanner. Wank. Anyway, he is obviously fuck off, right? He's obviously going to be out 6 weeks. Therefore, as Mark put it, it's only good thing for Celtic.
Aye, I did see that. Yes. Aye.
That means that there's an opportunity for a young upcomer like James Forrest to get a
Yes. You can finally show us what you can do. Yeah.
Come on, James, show us what you can do. No, well, so yeah, there's a possibility it'll be James Forrest today. However, of course, there is a Yang to choose from. There's a potentially a Tillio. Will Tillio be released upon us today? Apparently, he's been now. Listen, he's no longer injured. He is training, and he's been called up to the Australians on the 21 side, so he is available to be chosen to play. Okay. Will he make the bench? Well, that's the question. So. I mean, he might make the bench, or we might see a Rocco Vata might get the opportunity today. There's all these names to pick from, and obviously Abada isn't back yet. So who, Phil, do you see taking that right wing position? Because I think it's safe to say that Palmer will start on the left. James Grimes, Tilly, who?
Aye, exactly.
What's this? Regan is joining us. Here we go. Let's get him to join. I'll let you do that, Phil.
Okay, no worries.
If you can do that, it seems. There we go.
Yeah.
Welcome, Regan. We're just getting into discussion about where who we expect to be starting on the right side today.
Oh, an echo
there. I'd probably say Yang.
Yang,
yeah. Wow, got quite the echo.
That's what you guys have to listen to. That voice.
Is that a big echo,
So,
Yep.
Yeah, quite the echo, mate.
What do Regan is disconnect and come back in and see if it fixes it, or maybe put headphones in. That might fix it.
That's what I sound like.
Why
are you all watching?
It'll be. I think that message came up on StreamYard saying about he's using he's not got headphones plugged in to identify that. So it'll probably be that, just be headphones. He'll need
that'll be what it is. Okay. Well, hopefully he can get himself some headphones. We'll get that.
Yeah.
Get that sorted. So anyways, if you want to continue to answer the question.
I think the two wingers today should be Yang and Palmer, but like Patrick McLaughlin's coming in and saying here, this wouldn't even surprise me. Yang on the left and Forrest on the right today, because Forrest has obviously had a few fleeting appearances this season. He's still within the matchday squads and whatnot. He seems to always be one of the first protocols when it comes to substitutes. So it wouldn't even surprise me if James Forrest comes in, but he's got to. I mean, he's shown in the past what he can do. I mean, he's got numbers. Again, we're talking about numbers and all that, and the eye test. His numbers definitely show over the years what he's done: 100+ goals, 100+ assists. So it's a case of if he does get a start today, he has to step up and contribute massively. Because last season, remember, he came in at the cold against Hibs and scored a hat trick that day. But then the very next game, I think he was dropped and didn't appear again until a game at Ibrox in the turn of the year, when he only lasted 50 minutes or something, and then he was pulled off. Maybe he was pulled off at half time. I can't remember, but he was awful in that game. So we need more of a James Forrest to what we saw last year against Hibs. That's the type of performance we need to see from him if he does get a start. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he does. But me personally, it would be Palmer and Yang would get the start for me, because I've liked what I've seen from Palmer. I really have. I think the goals that he scored have all been of good quality. The pass that he played to Matt O'Reilly at Tynecastle for the first goal was sublime. So I think he's a good player. I think the more games he plays, I think the better he'll get. But yeah, that would be for me. And Yang, say first, I felt like I was really high on Yang. Then he went for a wee period where I was like, I don't know if this boy's going to make it. But I think in recent performances, again, I think he's looked good. Against St Mirren, I felt he was a massive outlet for us when he came on in that game, because again, it's all about taking opportunity. And yeah, I thought against St Mirren, the game swung massively because it was a really stodgy affair that night until he came on with Maeda, and then suddenly he was a real outball. So again, it's a case of when these boys get the chance, they have to make sure they take it, because as a squad game, we're going into a really busy period now. We hit November, December time. The festive period fixtures are going to be coming thick and fast after this international break, David. This is the last one until March. So it is going to be just game after game once this international break's out the way. And we need to know, Brendan needs to know, we need to get up to January now. He needs to know that any player he puts in, he can trust to do a job. So, yeah, hopefully today, Yang, if he does get a start, takes a chance. I say I would like to see Palmer, but at the same time, I'm not ruling out the chance that James Forrest plays. Not ruling it out.
I mean, we signed that Tillio back in June, and we paid over $1 million for him, and he came over here and he had niggling injuries, and obviously that's why he's never been anywhere near the match squad. But like I said, he is now injury free. He's getting called up to under 21's Australian side, or sorry, under 23's Australian squad.
Yep.
For the international break. I mean, I've got nothing to base him on apart from some YouTube clips. Now, Mark gave his verdict on the Australian, the A-League's quality. I mean, he made a fair point. If Jason Cummings is winning Player of the Year there, then what does that tell you?
Yeah.
But I mean, he looks a talent. I mean, let's remember a certain Tom Rogic came straight from the A-League. And he did all right. So
yeah.
there's. I mean, I'm not going to rule him out just yet, especially after not seeing anything of him. I mean, I'd like if we're looking comfortable enough and he is on the bench, then I'd say we let him on and see what he can do. I certainly wouldn't start him. I mean, and if he's been fit for a while, as it's suggesting, Rodgers obviously hasn't seen enough yet to even warrant a bench. We see it on the bench. So, I mean, I don't know what that tells you. But he thrived on the right hand side when he played for Melbourne. He looks quick. He looks like he likes to take on a player. He looks creative. All the things that we want to see from a winger at Celtic. So, I mean, I'd be more than happy to see him on the bench, and if we can give him some game time to let us see if he is going to be Celtic quality or not, then I'd be happy to do it. But I think you're right. I'd like to see Yang start today. But right now he does look better off the bench. Like a bit more of an impact player than maybe a starter. He's
a
got
bit like one Syed Haksabanovic was, where whenever he would start a game, he was he was a bit of a mystery. But yeah, when he would come off the bench, he seemed to be very much an impact player. But yeah, whenever he started a game, he wasn't up to much at all. But yeah, Yang, I hope he doesn't fall in that category, because obviously me as a fan, I want every player that I know is starting. I know that is the strongest possible option. You don't want passengers there. So hopefully if Yang does get a start, you can do it. But Tillio, man, that would be a wild card out of nowhere if he started today. That would be the wildest of wild cards. I want to see what he's all about. And we've brought this guy in. There's a lot of hype about him, and I hope it's all true. But again, we can't. Again, the eye test. We're talking about the eye test. We need to see him to actually play to judge him. And we can't get an opportunity now. But hopefully, if he does make the bench today, and we are sitting pretty in the second half, then yeah, by all means, get him on, because we're coming up with a 2-week international break. You may as well give him some game time if you can.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against it. But we've got a very congested fixture list just now. So, I mean, if you're giving Mickey Johnson another opportunity, then I don't see why we wouldn't give a player that we've signed for over $1 million the opportunity. Because apparently that's a lot of money these days, still in Celtic transfer terms. But hey, now, I came across an article by I'm going to butcher his name, but Surav Mahante, and he was discussing the potential signing of a new goalkeeper. There we go. I think Regan sorted these issues. Regan, you there?
No.
David, have you heard me all good?
There we go.
It said that Google Chrome gave me a bug to my phone, so I had to download Firefox on my phone and come through that way, because I don't know what happened.
Ah, right, okay. Oh no, the echo's still there.
Still getting a bit of an echo there.
Regan.
This is this has never happened before, so I don't know what's happening.
Right, what I'll do, mate, is I'm going to just mute you when I'm talking and Phil's talking, so we don't get the echo, and then I'll unmute you when I'm going to come to talk to you. Is that all right?
Right, no problem.
There we go. I will try and do my best to do that. So basically, Regan, I'm going to discuss a wee article here that's suggesting that obviously Joe Hart is turning 37 before the end of the season, and I think it's been quite clear that he is past his best, we'll say. Like, he does fine domestically, but there is the odd showing of maybe age catching up with him, trying to get to certain shots quick enough. So obviously there's been a discussion whether Rodgers will be looking in the January transfer window, certainly the summer window, to find a replacement for him. There's been names such as, now forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, I think he's called Kieran Keller, and it's spelled with the Irish spelling. I might be wrong. I once called a girl Neve Niam when I read her name out once.
Yeah, classic.
I went, who the fuck's Niam? She was like, it's Neve. I was like, oh shit, sorry, Neve. So if I've pronounced that wrong, apologies. And of course, Real Madrid's Andrev, which is ironically easier for me to pronounce. Andrev Lunin, who's also a potential goalkeeping signing. Of course, though, these players will be also on other people's scouting lists and will cost, you're probably looking, I don't know, £6, £7, £8 million for these guys.
Yep.
Another player that he mentioned, though, who's out of contract in the summer, Phil, is a certain Wolfsburg's Cohen Casteels, who he plays in the Bundesliga, and he's represented the Belgium national team a few times. He'll be available on a free transfer in the summer. He's only 31. I say only 31. But 31's fairly, maybe
for a goalkeeper, that's
goalkeeping
decent.
peak, their peak. He suggested that Celtic should look to maybe try and snap him up on a free. We do need a new goalkeeper. I don't think that's up for debate. Would you be happy with either of those three names to be a potential?
Yes, 100%. We definitely need a keeper. Definitely need a keeper, no doubt about it. All three of them are coming from, a high caliber. The Wolfsburg being a Bundesliga team, Real Madrid, obviously, and Liverpool, huge teams, huge leagues. Obviously, the guys maybe don't play as much, maybe they're the number two now, but again, they'll have all that experience, being at a top level team. And I think, dropping down to play in the Scottish Premiership, I think they would. I think it'd be great to get a sign like, because what I don't want is, we do need a keeper. I think the keeper is one position where you need to get a more experienced head. Because again, with age and that, this is one where I don't want to see us signing a project player. We talk about the whole project stuff, a £2 million punt on some player from the Far East or whatever. This is not a position to do that. I think that is the one where you have to get somebody. I mean, Joe Hart, when we signed him, was 34 at the time or whatever, 35, and it's like, yeah, that's, the goalkeeper is different. You do need somebody with an experienced head there. So all three of them, for what I know Keller's younger than them, but again, with being at Liverpool and having that top level experience, I don't think we should be going for somebody that plays in for a club in a league that we've never really paid much attention to. I think this is one where we have to make a good choice, because this is a guy that realistically will come in and will play, could play about 50 games in a season when you add in all the competitions, unless, we adopt a policy where the number two keeper will play all the League Cup and Scottish Cup games. But most of the time, we don't tend to do that. So you're looking at a guy that's going to come in and play pretty much every game, unless he gets injured or suspended. So it needs to be a solid choice. It cannot be, this guy's available from the Australian League, £1 million he'll cost us. We can maybe sell him in a few years if he turns out good for like 7 or 8 million. And it's like, no, not with the goalkeeper. It needs to be a top level choice for us. The best we can possibly get at whatever price we need to pay. Because I say it's such a crucial position. So for me, I'd be happy with any of them, or players of that ilk in that sort of category. That is the type of signing I want to see at goalkeeper.
Yeah, Regan, I hope you're there. The names that I've mentioned, I think Keller is the most popular name that's been mentioned in the chat. Would he be a signing that you'd be excited about, and like Brown Warrior said, he would probably be a goalkeeper that could be a mainstay in the club for the next 5-10 years if all things went well.
Aye, David, I don't know how I'm sounding, but I think he'd be a good signing for us. Am I sounding okay?
Yep, that sounds
fine, mate.
I think he'd be a good signing for us, and I think he's somebody that you look at. He's won the English FA Cup, the English League Cup. He's still pretty young, I think, as well. You know, what, 24 to 25, 26? So
yeah, I think so. I think it's about that.
So I think he's somebody that we can say if he does well, and you're thinking as well because this is my ignorance, but because he's Irish, maybe he's got a Celtic connection, maybe he supports Celtic or something like that. So I'm just hoping that he's that kind of goalkeeper we can attract.
Well, Stephen CFC makes a valid point. So Real Madrid played last night and the boy played, so he's never coming to Scotland. I mean, hard to argue. And Keller, he's been valued at 20 million and on 40k a week. Good luck with that deal. Yeah, I mean that's the hurdling block that we're always gonna find is obviously the price tag of an English Premier League player, and certainly their wages. Obviously I'm not privy to what the players are making at Celtic, Phil. But I mean, are we anywhere near the 40k a week bracket for some of our players, maybe?
40k a week. I don't. Again, with the money that Celtic have got, I don't think it's. I mean, who is our highest earner? Because again, you hear different stories that apparently Callum McGregor's our highest earner. It's somewhere in the 30s. He gets the 30 something k a week for a guy who's going to be first teamer. Regan unmuted again. Oh, there you go. If a guy's going to be a first teamer and I say going to play that many games, such an important position, I think it's worth pushing the boat out for that, to be honest, 40k. But of course, the price tag is a problem. So you'd have to be looking at somebody that's going to come with a cheap price tag, either a free transfer, out of contract, like, you know, you mentioned Colin Castells, the Wolfsburg keeper. You know, somebody in that ilk who's run out of contract but will probably command a decent wage. But again, it's worth it, I think, for the goalkeeper because it's such an important position, a guy that's going to play so many games, and he's the last line of defence. He needs to be a top player. So I think for that would be worth doing. There's Bhoycie saying that Hart gets about 15k a week. I can't remember that at the time when he signed. It was a case of he was taking a massive wage drop to come here just to play football. Maybe there's a goalkeeper out there in a similar ilk where it's just like they just want to play again. They just find themselves so frozen out, but they could definitely be our number one keeper. Maybe we can stumble across that.
So you're looking at, and obviously Celtic, Glasgow champions, he said, why are we going for number two keepers by an established number one? Well, I think that's probably, like Phil's just mentioned there, that's probably why we're looking at number two, like we're suggesting number two, even number three goalkeepers. Now remember, Regan, Fraser Foster was an unknown third choice goalkeeper at Newcastle, who had done well on loan at Norwich. There's a goalkeeper I would be interested in signing, Regan. I don't know what your thoughts are. If we're going to look at an established number one goalkeeper, let's say we go down that route, would Angus Gunn be a potential signing? You know, Scottish international goalkeeper. Is he at Norwich just now, I believe? Am I getting that wrong? Or he was there at one. What do you think, Regan?
I think he would be a very good signing, to be honest. I think Angus Gunn showed in the Scotland game that he's a very capable shot stopper, and he's very good with the ball. His feet. The only goal he really conceded was a penalty against Erling Haaland up until that Spain debacle when Scotland went 1-0 up, and then Spain suddenly got a wee jolt up the rear end to actually go and get that second and third goal to snatch the victory, because that's what they did. Because I still stand by that was a perfectly very good goal by Scott McTominay. I think he would be very good, David. I think that's the kind of goalkeeper you're looking at. I was kind of hoping that we could have went for somebody like Jack Butland. I mentioned him about a year and a half ago, I think, on the bus, and then when he signed for Rangers, I was quite disappointed because yeah, he's a very good player, and he's somebody that was third choice at Man U. These are the kind of players that we should be looking at, and try to get. I don't know what age Danny Ward is. I'm just throwing him in there because Brendan, what we were before, I don't know what age he is. I'm just saying. I know I've got a bit of bad echo there, but that's what I did say. So.
Regan, mate, did he give me the fear?
Oh, I know how you feel about Danny Ward. We've talked about this many
man.
times. Yes.
Because that was my big irrational fear was we're going to sign Danny Ward, aren't we? We're going to fucking say, oh, he knows the league. He's played with Brendan before and he was fucking shite.
Oh, he was awful. Yeah, he was terrible in that season
dear.
there.
Oh, Regan, you're giving me the fear, man. Oh, dear. Another goalkeeper. We're kind of going down a bit of a wee rabbit hole here. Glasgow Celtic has mentioned Tobias. He's the main man at Legia Warsaw, a club that we have went down twice in the last couple of years. And he's apparently going to be Poland's next number one. I don't know anything about him, mate. But if you think he's a good goalkeeper, I'll take your word on it because I've got nothing there to push back on. And Martin Muir, he's coming with Angus Gunn again. So there's plenty of options. There's options out there. But isn't it funny though, guys, that we don't seem to. There doesn't seem to be that much mention of there's no solid links. And there's always these wee links that fans have come up with and going, and it kind of grow arms and legs, like the boy that we apparently missed out on,
Livakovic.
Were we ever really interested in him? Was there an approach by the club, or was it purely just fan speculation that just grew arms and legs?
I'd lean towards that.
It's interesting. It's like, well, we've got Joe Hart, so it's fine. We've got Bain, we've got Sigrist. We need to get Sigrist off the books. I think that's the first thing that we need to do. If we're going to be talking about getting a new goalkeeper in, I think Sigrist is certainly was brought in to be that. He'll be the guy that'll push. He'll be the guy that pushes Joe Hart for that number one jersey. And somehow he's found himself not even getting past Scott Bain.
I know.
So I think the writing's on the wall for him. Try and ship him out in January. Maybe he'll go to Aberdeen. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Here, you can have him and we'll take Miovski. Anyway, speaking of Miovskis, we will be wrapping this up because we know that, Phil, you have a certain football game to go to travel to today, as I'm sure many of you in the chat will also be doing. I'm a bit gutted that we didn't get much of you today, Regan. I don't really get how that's happened because we've not done anything differently this week that we normally do. I think it's just been a bit of a. It's the Sunday Blether bugs, mate. It's my fault probably.
The gremlins, mate.
I'm on, so. But let's get Regan's last words before we fire off. Regan, give us your thoughts on today's game.
It's going to be very cold. That's why I'm not going. I think we'll beat Aberdeen 2 or 3-0. I think they're playing well, but I think we should get the job done, no problem. Miovski's someone that I think we should definitely go for, David. And just on the goalkeeper situation, I'm actually feeling a bit sorry for Sigrist, David, because to be honest, he coming at a really bad time, to be honest, because he came in at a point where Joe Hart was playing very well and last season, and then Ange Postecoglou didn't really even in the cup games because we went out of one of the cups pretty early, didn't really get a chance to displace Joe Hart. And then when Brendan comes in, anybody can see what they like, but I think Brendan's been bad. He's tried and trusted. He's been bad to Bain because he knows Bain. That's all it is. I don't think Sigrist is going to be in training and doing some bad things in training. I think he seems to be a guy that's a very good goalkeeper. So I just think Brendan's went for his tried and trusted. If you look at every manager across everywhere in the world, they go for their tried and trusted players. So I don't think it's a bad look on Sigrist.
I don't know, mate. I feel like I don't feel sorry for Sigrist at all. I mean, if he was up to the challenge of and was up to much, he would be getting the opportunity, but he chose to, his social media decision making certainly didn't help his case. You could argue it maybe lacked a little bit of professionalism. I know he was injured, so they said, and I think that's. Listen, I'm not a manager of any stretch of the imagination. Would it have bothered me? I don't know, but it's obviously definitely bothered Ange, and whether that's maybe a little glimpse into maybe what Sigrist's professional attitude's like. Who knows? Maybe Brendan's just went, nah, you're not. Or it could just be a case of Brendan's just going, nah, you're not for me. But I don't necessarily feel sorry for the guy. I just, it's the unfortunately that's the way of the land for goalkeepers. It's a very difficult position to stake a claim in if you've got a goalkeeper that's playing well. And like you said, like if Rodgers knows Bain, he's going to maybe just go down that route because he trusts Bain more than he can trust the goalkeeper that just chose to, when he's meant to be recovering, he's up the Eiffel Tower with a glass of rum in his hand. Fucks to Seagrist. I mean, that I think he was showing off more than just a glass of rum in his hand in that photograph, and fair fucks to him. But I don't know, but I don't think Seagrist is going to be here long term anyway. I think that's going to be the end of him. Does anybody want to challenge me on anything before we go? Just in case I've
No.
Regan?
David, Neil is not a good manager.
Right.
See you later, Regan.
Sure.
Right, guys. We'll let you get ready, get your pies ordered and all that stuff, and get ready for hopefully a nice resounding victory for the boys against Aberdeen. Thank you for joining me once again on a nice, lovely, dignified Sunday Blether. Phil, any parting words before you want to go?
I said on Friday night I think it'll be a 3-0 today. I know that Russell's currently in the chat. Maybe he can also tell us what time PMP start, and I reckon it'll be about 5 o'clock. I think would probably be a reasonable shout. But yeah, PMP will be on later with Russell and Terry. But yeah, I did see Russell in the chat, so maybe he'll confirm the exact time. But yeah, that is the plan later on. I'll be on. But yeah, I'm expecting a 3-0 win today. So yeah, that's I'll just stick to that because I just feel like it's the right team, the right sort of the right venue to be at, rather than some stodgy away game. I think this is exactly what we need: a team that's going to come and try and attack us. I think that'll play into our hands. I think we'll pick them off and beat them in the end 3-0 and keep our gap at the top of the table. Although fingers crossed, Livingston can do us a favour. I doubt it though. Yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath on that one for their game. But yeah, as long as we do our bit, that's all that matters. And there's Russell confirming 5 o'clock. So there we go.
Regan,
cool.
quickly, Regan, what's your prediction?
Celtic 4, Aberdeen 0. I'm playing Europe during the week. And I think it'll be a 4-0 win. I just think we're going to be pretty happy with how things are going in the league, and I think Brendan knows that Aberdeen are a very good team. He knows that they've been to Frankfurt, they've been to Park as well, and got a good result. So I think Brendan will want to show Aberdeen that Celtic are boss in Scotland, and I think that's what Celtic will do today.
Brilliant.
Well, I'll go just to be different. I'll say 2-0 Celtic. Diza Maeda hat-trick.
That would be incredible if that came in.
He's not even playing.
That's the joke.
That's the joke. That's like
That's
a Liam
the
Colwell
joke.
moment
That's the
there.
joke,
That's what that
Regan.
was.
Just, yeah, anyway.
It's gone right over his head.
Right over his head, that's fair. It was a shit joke anyway, it was a proper dad's joke. Anywho, we'll see you next Sunday for Sunday Blether when we're back on. Cheers.
Cheers, then.